Is sales really a four-letter word?
So Doug, the book is called Sell is Not a Four-Letter Word. Who is this for? Give us a quick preview.
Well, sure, Todd. I'm glad to do that. Real proud of it. This is the book. This is Sell is Not a Four-Letter Word. And this goes back about 10 years. This was kind of birthed at some point back when, through a lot of sales training that I had done over the years, people would come up to me after training, after workshops, and say, "Wow, that's good stuff. You ought to write a book. You ought to write a book." And after hearing a bunch of those, I thought, well, I'll put it on the bucket list. So we did that. And so now we've got it put together, and again, because of all the years, the 40 total years in the selling universe, I just felt like I had something to offer, and at the same time, wanted to make sure people understood that this was a great profession to be in, and reading this book is going to make you better at whatever your craft is. So you ask, who's this thing really for? Hey, anybody that sells, whether you're self-employed or whether you are a captive, anybody in sales management, anybody in customer service. I really try to focus more than anything else on the soft skills and the face-to-face skills of communication, which most people, when they're grumpy about salespeople, that's one of the things that they dislike, is that salespeople just don't communicate well.
Goodness gracious, Doug, if you go to Amazon and you do a search for sales, there are just hundreds, if not thousands, of sales books, some of them good. Why should someone read yours? What's special about it?
Yeah, that's really a great question, and I do think that it's special from this standpoint. There's a lot of people out there, Todd, that don't have access to a lot of great training, and they're just kind of grabbing and growling and trying to put together, on their own, a lot of tips and a lot of things that would be helpful to them. So as I sat down to put this together, I've got great respect for the Brian Tracy's and the Zig Ziglars, and in no way am I trying to compete with them. This is not a treatise on sales from the first century and forward. That's not what this is all about. But very simply designed and put together for today's active salesperson that really needs help and that really needs to improve in the area of face-to-face communication.
I've read somewhere that one of the goals of this book is to convince folks that they can earn an above average living in sales and maintain their integrity. That sounds really interesting. How do you do that?
Well, again, I think it goes back to just a lot of negative things that we hear about people in the sales profession, and certainly, there are folks that say and do the wrong things from time to time. But I've been one that's been striving all my life in every selling related position to try to do the right thing, and so I try to bring that about and show folks that you can do both, that you can be a top seller and a top income earner, and you can still be one of the good guys, and I think that's very important. So as I laid this thing out, I tried to think about who would my readers be and what they were really looking for, and that's kind of how I crafted and put this book together.
Well, talk to me more about the book itself. How is it organized? Is it a long read? Can I take it in small bits? Walk me through that.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I'm really most proud of, Todd, is that I really tried to think about who the reader would be. And after 40 years of working with salespeople, knowing how their time is scattered, how their attention span is maybe not as great as it could be, I knew that I was going to have to put it into small bites. I call them segments within each chapter, and mine are only 2 to 3 pages long. And so I take a laser point topic, and I develop just a short couple of pages about it, and then I wrap that up with an introduction that most of the time is humorous, because the last thing I want is for this thing to read like a training manual. And so the great part about it is a salesperson can read it while he's sitting in the car eating a burger. He can read it while he's sitting in somebody's office waiting for an appointment. She can read it while she's while the clothes are drying in the clothes dryer. Whatever it might be, it doesn't take long for them to read 2 or 3 pages. and it doesn't screw up the read because the book, although it's 274 pages long, it's broken down into 116 of these little segments, and that's where I'm talking about 2 to 3 pages each, so that you can pick it up and put it down and not feel compelled to sit down for an hour at a time to read enough to really get the point of what the message is all about.
So it's not a bunch of theory, but it's a collection of stories, some of humorous, as you said, of real-world experience, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Many of them are my own experiences of selling. Others are when I was in training, when I was a sales manager, and I just talk directly. I'm just not a theory guy. What the scoreboard's what tells a story, and if what you're doing is putting points on the board, then you ought to tell somebody about that. They might want to run that play, and so I share those and I talk about some of those things, and yet I do it not from a condescending perspective, but I simply offer those as suggestions of, hey, it might be a good idea to try this, or here's an opportunity for you to try that when you get back in the field. So that I'm making suggestions to folks and giving them some ideas on some things that have worked for me and that will probably work for them as well.
Doug, what happens if I read this book and it doesn't speak to me, it doesn't resonate with me?
Well, first off, Todd, the book's a $15.99 book, so anybody that reads this book that can't get $16 worth of benefit from it, hey, all you got to do is give me a heads up, and I will gladly give your money back if you don't feel like you got your money's worth. But I can pretty well tell you that for just about after 40 years of this, that just about any salesperson out there, they need what's in this book a whole lot more than I need your $16. So I'll be glad to give you money back.
Doug, where can people learn more, and where can they get their hands on this book?
This book's available from my website, Todd, which is www.robinsontrainingsolutions.com. And if they order it from there, I'll be glad if they'll give me a heads up. If they want the book personalized, want the book signed, I don't charge any extra for doing that. We do that with free shipping as well from the website. But if not, they can get it at all the usual brick and mortar places, as well as the Barnes & Nobles and the Amazons. Pretty much any place that's out there is going to have the book.